back in here today, last video you saw me clean all the tanks. They're done, 100% ready to roll. So today I'm gonna put an overflow between these two tanks. I gotta put one over there between the big tanks as well, but today I'm just gonna do this one because it's a little harder. And the reason I do that, and the reason I am doing that this year, is because that'll allow me to have, instead of 1,100 gallons of storage room, I'll be able to have 2,200 gallons of storage. So basically when I'm concentrating, this tank will be filling up right here, and I don't have to be here to babysit it. Like when it gets to a certain level, if I wasn't here, it would just spill over and go all over this floor and flood everything out. But I'm gonna drill a hole in it right here. I'm gonna put a piece of PVC between the two, and that way when this fills up, when it gets to that overflow, it'll automatically come from this tank to that tank. So it just gives me so much more time, or if I gotta be in the woods working on leaks, or if I got trees down, or hauling sap, or whatever it may be, I have lots of time. So we're gonna do that today, and we're gonna change oil on the vacuum pump. Bingo, baby. There it is. Went right through that tank like butter. That bit did the job right there. I'm surprised. So that hole's in this tank. We will get our fitting inside of that quick, and then we'll drill a hole on the other side. All right, so I gotta wrap these two male adapters right here, these threads. I'm gonna put some Teflon around these, just so water can't leak by them when it's in. All right, so we got the hole in this tank right here. So here's my banjo fitting. We're gonna put this inside, slide it through this way, and we'll get this O-ring right up against this flat part of the tank, and we'll seal it up. All right, so that's in there. Now I'm gonna get my threaded male adapter threaded into this. Then we're gonna put a 45 on here, get it down, and wherever this lines up, we'll put another hole in this other tank on this side. So we'll put this inside of this. I've already got my thread tape on it. So there you have it. We gotta drop this down with a 45, and then another 45 and come in and hit right in here someplace. So we'll build that next. I got my piece made here. So I got a short stub piece right here sticking out of the end of a double 45. Here's the other end. So this will go in here just like this. Push into this male adapter, I'll glue it in there tight, and then we'll come out the other end. I'll stick a piece of 2-inch pipe over this tank and see where it hits. I'll trace it out. All right, that's in there. I gotta grab a piece of pipe and get it in here and see where it hits on this other tank. That way I know where to drill that other hole. So I got this other tank marked, I'll show you. So I'm gonna put the hole saw up there. We'll drill another hole through this one. And then we'll put that other banjo fitting in there, another piece of PVC pipe back into this other side. I had to loosen this up so I can get in here with my drill to be able to drill that. So there you have it, another hole. So we'll get that other banjo together and we'll start putting this together. That's tight. This one's tight. I'm gonna measure from here to here for a piece of PVC pipe. I'll cut it, get it all glued, and then I'm gonna have to loosen this side up, probably get the PVC started in this side, and then get this to jump on it. I need a 10-inch piece, so cut a 10-inch piece for that, and we'll try to get it in there. I got my piece cut right here. This is gonna be a little tricky getting this together, I think. I don't really wanna put a fern co in this. The easiest way is to put a fern co in this, and then you can just slide the fern co over one end and butt it up, the other piece of the pipe up, and then bring the fern co back and make the connection. But so here's what I'm gonna try to do here. So I'm gonna try to put this end into this end first right here, the fixed end. That guy right there. This side I loosened up the nut. So this thing I can move around wherever I want to move it. So I'm hoping I can get this side in here first, And then I can bring this other side back and get it over the other end. We'll see how it goes. Not half bad. Tighten this other flange nut up. I like it. Got glue coming out around this fitting all the way around, so man, that's a solid fit right there, man. You look at that. You have to move the tanks to be able to move that, so. All right, there you have it. I'll show you the finished product. So there it is, tank to tank. The concentrate can fill up in this tank right here. It'll fill all the way up. Once it gets to the opening of this hole, it'll shoot right down that hole, through that PVC pipe right there, and into the other tank right here. Out the other end of that hole right there. Pretty happy with that, so that's finished product. So that tank overflow is done. I gotta put one more over here in my big tanks, which you can see over in there, but that one's an easy one. They're both the same level, so it's just a straight pipe right straight across. So, but I have found a problem. Found a problem in here this morning, and I'll show you what it is. So I was walking through here this morning, I noticed this. Somehow water got in that valve and didn't drain all the way out, and it split my 90 and my valve and some of my pipe. Look at that right there. Not a problem. I'm gonna have to fix that, so, but I don't know how water got left in there because it's from when I washed the tanks the other day. It should have been all drained out. I do see a little bit of water down in the end of that right there. So probably what happened was I had a little bit more water in this tank and I closed that valve off a little too soon. So mistake I have to pay for. This is my vacuum pump right here. This is the heart and soul of the whole operation. Without one of these things, you ain't getting any sap out of the wood. So right here is the drain plug right here. I'm gonna back this nut off. So back this nut off. And then just crack this valve right here. That'll drain the oil out of the bottom of the pump. There's my sight glass right there. There's two marks on the body of the pump. Right here, one right here and one right here. And you gotta make sure that this oil level when it's full is in between those two marks, but it's going down now because it's draining out. So we'll let that drain for a few minutes and then we'll take the filter off the backside. Right here's the oil fill plug right here. I'm gonna back this out. You should be able to do this with your fingers, but these things are always so tight. You gotta put a wrench on it to help get it to start. So I just usually crack it with that adjustable wrench. I'll just open this up and let some air in there and hopefully let that drain a little bit faster. All right, so that's draining. So Becker manufacturer suggests that you change oil once a year at the beginning of the season, and that's it. So changing oil. There's a couple other things I should probably do this year as far as maintenance, but I don't have time to get them done. So there's a separation element filter in the side of this thing that's important. It's to trap moisture, but this ain't getting done this year. So fingers crossed it runs good. All right, so that's done draining. We'll put the cap back on the end of it here. I don't know why that's like that. That's the way it came from the factory, but to me, this 90 should be down. It would drain a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
So when I built this stand for this pump, I built it quite a bit different than the one I have at the other pump house. The other one in the other pump house, I can't even get the oil filter off. I can get it off, but there's no place for the oil to go. It just drains all over the table and it makes a complete mess. So this one, if you look at it over here, I cut a hole in this so I can get the filter out real easily, and then the oil can drain right down and hit the pan down below. So all right, so I got that oil filter off. We're gonna let that drain for a few more minutes and then we'll put a new oil filter back on it and we'll fill it up with oil. This pump is rated for 7,000 taps. So right now we're currently at like 4,400 up here. So this summer I'm gonna add another 1,500 roughly, and then the summer after that, there's probably a couple more thousand, and there might be another 1,000 if we go over the other side of the mountain. So I might actually outgrow this pump. And that releaser is rated for 7,000 taps, I think, too. So in a couple years time, I might have to get myself a bigger pump and a bigger releaser. So, all right, so I got a couple oil filters in here. I'll pop one of these bad boys out of here. I'm not exactly sure how much these oil filters cost. I bought them last year. I usually buy like 3-4 to rip. That way I have them. So I'm getting down to my last two, but I'm not exactly sure, but I like to use all Becker original equipment manufacturing filters. So this is a Becker filter specific for this Becker pump. So just like your standard oil filter. So what I'll do is I'll get a little oil, some clean oil, and put it around the gasket. So when I tighten it up, it makes a nice good seal and it doesn't leak. But you can't fill these filters like you could on a car because they sit sideways like this. You fill that up, you go to put it on, it's all gonna run right out, all over everything. So we'll get some oil around that quick. We'll put that back on. You just wanna get a nice little layer of oil right around it so it's shiny. So all you wanna do with those filters, you just want to go hand tight. No reason to go any tighter than hand tight. I've had filters in the past, not on vacuum pumps, but on other stuff. You can't even get them off. Sometimes you need a vice grip, drive a hammer, take a screwdriver and drive a screwdriver through it to get it off. But that's all it needs to be is hand tight. So that filter's on, that's done. So I like talk to the guy that I bought this from. And like if you look at the manual, I'll tell you how many hours you should do changes on certain things. There's not an hour meter on this thing, so how are you supposed to know when to change it? So he's basically just, the oil changes are once a year at the start of the season. So we're doing that today because I'm thinking we might get a sap run coming up here soon. So I've already got some fresh oil in here. So basically it goes right back in here in the fill, and then we'll watch the sight glass here and see it fill up. Oil's about dead center of those top and low marks. I'll show you. Right there. So you want to be center of these two marks. So that's full. I'm going to start the vacuum pump up now and let some of that oil fill that filter, and we might have to put a little bit more into it. We'll see. See that sucked that oil right into that filter and lowered the level down. So we'll let this get back down to idle. Oh, I got to shut the valve. All right, that valve, I don't know if I told you in the other videos, that valve just puts vacuum to the woods. That's all that does. So when it's closed, the vacuum's in the pump. When I open it, it puts vacuum to the woods. So you always keep that closed unless, you know, sap's running and you want to put the vacuum to the woods. So gonna look at this gauge one more time and see where that oil's at, and we'll add a little bit more to it. Filled it up with some more oil, and I just checked the filter to make sure there's no leaks. We're gonna start it up one more time and just make sure everything's good, and we'll be good to go. The vacuum pump, oil change, service ready to roll, and the overflow's in ready. Thanks for watching.